warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu and with me is Ramya, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaks to UN chief over death of 2 Indian peacekeepers in Congo. Calls for speedy probe to bring perpetrators of attack to justice. Energy and power sector has a huge role to play in accelerating India's progress in the next 25 years, says Prime Minister Modi. India calls for addressing global energy and food crisis caused by COVID pandemic and Ukraine conflict urgently. In United States, at least 25 people killed in a flash flood in Appalachia region of eastern Kentucky. In Pakistan, a special court summons Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and his son Hamza Shehbaz in connection with 16 billion rupees money laundering case on September 7th. And in Commonwealth Games, India's Sanket Sargar wins silver and Gururaj Pujari bronze in weightlifting. President, Vice President and Prime Minister congratulate. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a telephonic conversation with UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on Friday. Both leaders discussed the recent attack on the UN Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, MONUSCO, where 2 Indian peacekeepers were martyred. The Prime Minister urged the UN chief to ensure expeditious investigations to bring the perpetrators of the attack to justice. Mr. Modi also underscored India's abiding commitment to UN peacekeeping, with more than 250,000 Indian peacekeepers having served under UN peacekeeping missions so far. As many as 177 Indian peacekeepers have made the supreme sacrifice while serving in UN peacekeeping missions, the largest by any troop contributing country. The Secretary-General offered his condolences to the families of the 2 martyred Border Security Force personnel as well as to the government and the people of India. He reiterated his unequivocal condemnation of the attack against MONUSCO and assured all possible action in conducting speedy investigations. Prime Minister Modi also emphasized on India's unwavering support to peace and stability in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Nearly 2,040 Indian soldiers are presently deployed at MONUSCO mission. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday launched the Power Ministry's flagship revamped distribution sector scheme. The scheme aims at improving the operational efficiencies and financial sustainability of the distribution companies and power departments. It is being implemented with an outlay of over 3 lakh crore rupees over a 5-year period from 2021-22 to 2025-26. Mr. Modi said the energy and power sector has a huge role to play in accelerating India's progress in the next 25 years. Mr. Modi said projects worth thousands of crores of rupees are a significant step not only in the direction of energy security but also of green energy.
आज का भारत न सिर्फ एनर्जी सरप्लस स्टेट है बल्कि हम बिजली निर्यात भी कर रहे हैं। पिछले 8 साल में देश ने बिजली के क्षेत्र में बहुत बदलाव देखे हैं। हम अपनी हर योजना को पूरी शक्ति और गति से लागू कर रहे हैं। इससे 2047 का भारत ऊर्जा के क्षेत्र में सशक्त और संपन्न और सामर्थ्यवान बने उस दिशा में कदम उठाते हैं और इस शुरुआत में जनभागीदारी हमारी सबसे बड़ी ताकत है।
The Prime Minister said strengthening energy sector is important for ease of doing business and ease of living. He said the government had resolved to create 175 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity by the completion of 75 years of independence. He added that today India is in the top 4 to 5 countries of the world in terms of installed solar capacity.
Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, has said that ease of justice is as important as ease of doing business and ease of living. He said that the National Legal Service Authority and District Legal Services Authorities can play a great role in the speedy justice delivery system. The Prime Minister said this while inaugurating the first All India District Legal Services Authorities meet in New Delhi on Saturday. He said justice delivery is equally important as is access to the judicial system for any society.
देश ने नेशनल लीगल सर्विसेज अथॉरिटी इसकी स्थापना भी की ताकि कमजोर से कमजोर व्यक्ति को भी न्याय का अधिकार मिल सके। विशेष रूप से हमारी डिस्ट्रिक्ट लीगल सर्विस अथॉरिटीज हमारे लीगल एड सिस्टम के बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक्स की तरह है। किसी भी समाज के लिए जुडिशियल सिस्टम का एक्सेस जितना जरूरी है उतना ही जरूरी जस्टिस डिलीवरी भी है। इसमें एक अहम योगदान जुडिशियल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का भी होता है।
Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramana, said that strengthening the district judiciary is the need of the hour. He said it is a driving force behind the legal aid movement in the country.
Our true strength at this juncture lies with our youth. With an average age of 29 years, 1/5 of the world's youth live in India. This huge human resources is properly trained will drive our economic progress. With skilled workers estimated to be only 3% of our total workforce, we need to harness the full potential of youthful demographic profile of our country. With the Western world increasingly failing short of skilled human resources, it is India's turn to fill up the gap globally.
There are a total of 676 district legal services authorities in India. Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has called for urgently addressing the energy and food crisis that the world is facing caused by disruptions from the COVID pandemic and Ukraine conflict. Dr. Jaishankar was speaking at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) Foreign Ministers meeting at Tashkent in Uzbekistan on Friday. The minister said the response required to address these challenges include resilient and diversified supply chains as well as reformed multilateralism. He stressed that zero tolerance for terrorism in all its manifestations is a must. Dr. Jaishankar reiterated India's position on Afghanistan and highlighted the humanitarian support given by India. He also underlined the potential of Chabahar port for SCO's economic future. The External Affairs Minister spoke about the economic progress in India, stressing the relevance of startups and innovation. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on Friday held a conversation with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on the sidelines of the SCO Council of Foreign Ministers held in Tashkent. Dr. Jaishankar said he had a useful talk on the sidelines with Sergei Lavrov. He said bilateral meetings with Uzbek, Tajik, Kyrgyz and Kazakh counterparts advanced the India-Central Asia summit process. He said conversation on the sidelines with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was also useful.
In today's hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on outcome of SCO Foreign Ministers meeting. In conversation are Shashank, former ambassador, and Manish Anand, journalist.
Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar participated in the foreign ministerial meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in Tashkent. This meeting was significant because it would set the agenda for the Samarkand summit in September, which will be held for 2 days during 16th and 17th of the month. This meeting has taken place in the backdrop of the ongoing Russian and Ukrainian war, which has plunged the world into energy and food crisis. Foreign Minister Jaishankar has very clearly spelled out that the world needs to come out with solutions. Ongoing energy and food crisis. This meeting is going to be significant in Samarkand in September. Do you think that the world is going to have any sigh of relief in the next few months?
It's an extremely important meeting for two reasons. One is that it prepared for the summit direction in September, where our Prime Minister would be visiting Samarkand. Secondly, India would be taking over as the chairman of the SCO next year, and the next summit will take place in India. So we hope that in the aftermath of the COVID and the Ukraine conflict, now there would be new possibilities for resolving the food grain crisis, the COVID-related, vaccine-related shortages, transport connectivity, energy cooperation, and counter-terrorism. So many important issues. And because of the problems which are coming up in Europe, we hope that Shanghai Cooperation Organization can play a meaningful role at this summit and then prepare the ground for the next summit in India.
Indeed, Ambassador Shashank, in fact, India will be taking the presidency of G20 also later this year, and the SCO also you have already said. since India is right at the forefront on addressing some of the key crises that the world is facing, there are several situations which have been underlined in the recent multilateral meetings, including the Tokyo Quad Summit, where all the world leaders talked about resilient supply chain management. That's a key area because the disruption has plunged the world into big inflationary crisis, bringing the fear of recession in many countries. So how the Central Asian countries, particularly the SCO, can play a key role in addressing the issues of supply chain management?
Well, you have rightly said that supply chain management is extremely important because China has been following for the last several months a zero COVID policy and has blocked several of its important and mid-level cities, which has affected the shipment of goods, production of goods, and China was an important center for supply chains. So therefore now there are two aspects. One is that many countries are trying to give facilities for onshoring the production mechanism. So Japan, Taiwan, many other countries, they are giving extra privileges, extra concessions to their own companies to come back to their own countries. Secondly, they are trying to find alternative supply chain partnerships in which India can also be an important partner. And for that, I think the SCO relationship, and if we can build up these Chabahar port connectivity to the SCO countries and to the other countries further onwards, will be extremely important because the supply chains will then become more effective, will get away from the difficulties that countries are facing due to COVID crisis. And secondly, because tensions which are arising both on the European side and now between China and Taiwan also on the Asian side. So I think SCO can play an important role, and India has been therefore talking to the Central Asian leaders very closely to see that they can take advantage of the production and skill development, technology development in India, and India would be happy to cooperate with them. And therefore this SCO will become an important partnership for this purpose.
Indeed, for the benefit of the listeners, we may inform that this region had been historically very significant for the trade routes. The Silk Route, we all know the significance of that, which had been geostrategically very significant. In that context, Ambassador Shashank, you have mentioned the importance that India is laying on the Chabahar port in the northeastern Iran. But China is pushing the China-Pakistan economic corridor as well, which we definitely object because that is lying on our territory. So do you think that the conflicts are still there and they are not yet resolved, that the world can, have any solution in the immediate future?
Well, you are quite right. I mean, so Chabahar and even Bandar Abbas become important transit points for the international north-south corridor, which is being developed for connectivity between Central Asian states, even Russia and Iran and India, as an alternative to what is going on in Pakistan and the CPEC, which is facing its own difficulties. Because firstly, there's indebtedness problem in Pakistan. The power situation has become very bad. Baluchi nationalists have been fighting against the usurpation of their territories, Baluch territory, to China, and therefore there are attacks on the Chinese engineers, etc. So I think that is one. And then the CPEC passes through Indian territory, which is occupied by Pakistan at present. So India cannot accept this situation, and there are bound to be difficulties with regard to this kind of transit through Pakistan and through CPEC. But what we can expect is that Central Asian states like Uzbekistan and others who want to cooperate with India, they might tell Pakistan and Afghanistan, etc., that they may like to have connectivity through Karachi to India. I think that India should not mind, because that is a kind of a thing which is a traditional route through Afghanistan and Pakistan and doesn't affect the CPEC connectivity which passes through the Indian territory. And it also then India has then two alternatives. One is the international north-south corridor, which we should try to build up for strong connectivity to Central Asia and to Russia. And on the other hand, that in case Central Asian states can persuade Pakistan and Afghanistan to take their trade through Kabul and Karachi, then of course that also we can take advantage of that, and we could use Bombay port for this purpose.
Jaishankar has also briefed the SCO members about the humanitarian aids that India has provided to Afghanistan. We have very recently initiated our contacts in Kabul as well. JP Singh, the Joint Secretary in the MEA, had gone there and met the Taliban leadership. We have provided vaccine, wheat and clothes and other benefits to the Afghanistan people. people, a war-raged country, but still that country is not yet peaceful, and there are conflicts happening between tribals there. Do you think that the Pakistani involvement in Afghanistan is anywhere getting addressed?
It is for Afghan government to decide how much involvement they want of Pakistan in their internal affairs. If they feel that Indian assistance in these various fields of medicines, social security, COVID-related area, if that is useful for them, then India should definitely help them. Wheat assistance also. And we have set up a technical team. So therefore, I think this is a possibility that India and Afghanistan can cooperate in specific areas pending re-evaluation of Afghanistan about its own international policies and its Pakistani involvement in Afghanistan affairs.
Mr. Shashank, I would like to draw your attention to some suggestion in foreign journals where it has been stated that China is trying to build SCO by bringing in new members as an alternative to G20 in the backdrop of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the Cold War sort of scenario reviving again. Does that take the mandate of SCO away from its focus areas of development in the region?
Yeah, I think some of these countries are interested in joining SCO, and China, of course, it will have to be a decision taken by consensus, and we have no doubt at all that we will take into account the benefit which will accrue to all these countries members of SCO and which abide by the objectives laid down by the SCO.
And Mr. Shashank, now that India will be taking the presidency of two key blocs, the G20 and the SCO, in the next few months, India has stated its position on key issues in several fora in the recent months. What are the challenges for the Indian foreign affairs management in the next 1 year?
I think above all, everything will depend on India trying to keep its economy in good shape. We have seen recently the reports prepared by Bloomberg that among the countries which are likely to be affected by the Ukraine crisis, India would be perhaps affected the least. Many Asian countries will get affected, China, Pakistan up to 20%, many of the European countries from 20 to 40%. But as far as India is concerned, that is still being considered by these international agencies that it will be only very marginally affected. But that is for next 1 year. There could be stronger challenges for India in the foreign policy field after that. And in any case, what is most important is that we have to take care of the interests of our own people regarding food grains, regarding energy, and therefore we have to work out all kinds of possible initiatives that are required to set up new connectivity issues, new availability of the energy and food grain resources. I think and the government is trying to do its very best. I think we see that there is already use of greater amount of ethanol mix in our petrol. There is also new hydrogen energy resources which we are going to use. There are also new connectivities as we talked about the international north-south corridor to have multimodal transport from Russia to India. I think these are all things which are extremely important new initiatives. They are all there, which we need to work on because of the Ukraine crisis and the likely difficulty which may arise even on the East Asian side in case China and Taiwan come to a conflict situation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shashank, for talking to the All India Radio.
Yeah, thank you very much.
India's Telecom Minister Ashwani Vaishnaw has said that with 1.17 billion subscribers, the country is the world's second largest telecom market. He said the telecom discourse, which used to be about 2G, it has been taken to 5G and 6G. Mr. Vaishnaw was speaking during the valedictory session of the Telecom Investors Roundtable on investment opportunity in 5G operations and telecom reforms in Mumbai on Saturday. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
In the United States, at least 25 people have been killed in a devastating flash flood in the Appalachia region of eastern Kentucky. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said he expected the death toll to continue to rise. He said hundreds of homes and businesses had been flooded. President Joe Biden has declared the floods a major disaster and ordered federal aid to help local rescuers. Representatives from the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency arrived on Friday to assist local rescue efforts. Among the dead are at least 6 children, including a 1-year-old. After an aerial tour with the National Guard, Mr. Beshear said the flood was by far the worst he had seen. He said they are going to do their best to find them all. He warned that it could take weeks to find all the victims. Hundreds of people have been rescued by boat or helicopter. Some areas reported more than 20 centimeters of rain in a 24-hour period.
The Russian Foreign Ministry said on Saturday it has introduced sanctions against 32 New Zealand officials and journalists in a tit-for-tat move. In response to New Zealand government sanctions that apply to an increasing number of Russian citizens, the Russian ministry said in a statement that an additional 32 New Zealanders have been added to the nation's top list. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and his son Hamza Shehbaz have been summoned by a Lahore-based special court on September 7th in connection with 16 billion Pakistani rupees money laundering case against them. The court on Saturday summoned the father-son duo for the framing of charges and adjourned the hearing till the date. The Dawn newspaper reported the Prime Minister and his two sons were booked by the country's Federal Investigation Agency in November 2020 under the Prevention of Corruption Act and the Anti-Money Laundering Act. The Pakistani newspaper said Shehbaz's lesser-known son Suleiman Shehbaz is in the UK and has been declared an absconder. A total of 14 others have been also named in the FIR in an Anti-Corruption Act. Shehbaz and Hamza have already been granted pre-arrest bail in the case filed by the Federal Investigation Agency.
In Iraq, supporters of powerful cleric Muqtada al-Sadr have stormed parliament for the second time in a week. The protesters again breached the high-security green zone in Baghdad as they opposed the nomination of a pro-Iran rival candidate for the Prime Minister. Over 120 people were injured in the latest unrest. Mr. Sadr's bloc won the most seats last October, but it is not in power due to a political deadlock. Pope Francis has said the time may come soon when he needs to consider stepping down and would do so if he felt his health meant that it could not serve in the way he should. He made the comments at the end of a trip to Canada. He apologized to the indigenous people in Canada. The 85-year-old pontiff stressed that for the moment he intends to continue his duties and will be guided by God as to when he will step down, if he steps down at all.
In Commonwealth Games 2022, India opened its account, securing 2 medals on second day of the competition in Birmingham. Weightlifter Sanket Sargar clinched a silver medal in the men's 55 kg category. Guru Raja Pujari gave India its second medal, winning a bronze in the men's 61 kg finals. Sargar looked on course to win the gold, but 2 failed clean and jerk attempts spoiled his chances. He could lift a total of 248 kg to finish second. Star weightlifter Mirabai Chanu wins India's first gold medal. Boxer Lavlina Borgohain will also step in the ring with her bout. The Indian women hockey team will face Wales in Group B encounter. The team had opened their campaign with an emphatic 5-0 win over Ghana. In badminton, India beat Sri Lanka 5-0 in Group A's second mixed team event. Indian women's table tennis team outclassed Guyana 3-0, while the men's team secured a 3-0 win over Northern Ireland. In squash, Saurav Ghoshal secured 11-4, 11-4, 11-6 win against Sri Lanka's Shamil Vakil in the men's single round of 32 event. President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have congratulated Sanket Sargar and P. Guru Raja for winning the medals for India.
Now let us listen to our segment Potpourri. Holy Chhari Mubarak associated with the ongoing Sri Amarnath Ji pilgrimage was taken to the ancient Sharika Bhavani temple located at Hari Parvat in Srinagar. It was to pay obeisance to goddess Sharika on the occasion of Shravan Shukla Paksh Pratipada in the Indian territory of Jammu and Kashmir on Friday. Our correspondent has the details.
Jai Jai Baba Barfani, Jai Jai Baba Barfani, Jai 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 Jai.
A sizable number of sadhus and devotees participated in the prayers at the Sharika Bhavaniji temple in Srinagar, and the prayers lasted for about 90 minutes. The sound of conch shells reverberated all around and charged the whole atmosphere, and the pujan and other rituals were performed amid the chanting of Vedic hymns. Goddess Sharika Bhavani, popularly known as Tripur Sundari, is believed to be the East Devi of Srinagar city, who manifested herself in a figure of Shila, holy rock, at Hari Parbat. On Thursday, the Chhadi Mubarak was taken to Shankaracharya Ji temple in Srinagar for prayers. The Chhadi Stapana ceremony shall be performed on Sunday at Shri Amreshwarji temple, Akhada building, Badasha Chowk in Srinagar, and the traditional Chhadi Pujan will be performed on the occasion of Nag Panchami that falls on Tuesday, the 2nd of August. Chedi Mubarak shall leave on 7th of August for the holy cave shrine of Sri Ambarnathji, situated at an altitude of 13,500 feet in South Kashmir from Dashnami Akhada, Srinagar, for the main course of pilgrimage. The traditional pujan and rituals shall be performed on the auspicious occasion of Shravan Purnima on the 12th of August this year. Meanwhile, till now, 2,88,000 yatris have performed their darshan at the holy cave shrine of Sri Ambarnathji. Sunil Kaul for World News, All India Radio from Srinagar, Kashmir.
Today is the birthday of Indian singer Sonu Nigam. He was born on 30th July 1973. Besides being a singer, he is also a music director and actor. He has been described in the media as one of the most popular and successful playback singers of Hindi cinema. Sonu Nigam has been honoured by the Government of India with Padma Shri, the country's fourth highest civilian honour, for his contribution in the field of arts.
हाथ में तेरा हाथ हो, सारी जन्नतें मेरे साथ हो, तू जो पास हो फिर क्या ये जहां, तेरे प्यार में हो जाऊं फना.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Washington Post says not enough shots as US faces vaccine cliff on monkeypox. The New York Times writes that Russian nationals charged with spreading propaganda through US troops. The Guardian observes the assault weapons ban in America passed by the House ODF representatives appears set to be doomed in the Senate amid implacable Republican opposition to gun reform, even in the wake of a series of mass shootings in the US. The Globe and Mail reports lightning, continuing heatwave rise, wildfire concern as fire danger climbs in British Columbia. South China Morning Post says China puts on a show of naval force ahead of Nancy Pelosi's possible Taiwan visit. Sydney Morning Herald says firearms, $4.5 million worth of drugs seized in 11-day police operation. The Financial Times writes that US stocks spring higher to close out best month since 2020. The Wall Street Journal reports that automakers say car sales will defy economic gloom. The Japan Times reports Japan protests South Korean military drills near disputed island.
Pieces of a Chinese rocket are expected to plunge to Earth on Saturday. Exactly where and when the debris might fall are uncertain. But with much of Earth's surface covered by oceans and uninhabited land, experts said the debris poses little threat to people or objects on the ground, and the probability of it landing in any populated area is extremely low. A quick look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaks to UN chief over death of 2 Indian peacekeepers in Congo. Calls for speedy probe to bring perpetrators of attack to justice. Energy and power sector has a huge role to play in accelerating India's progress in the next 25 years, says Prime Minister Modi. India calls for addressing global energy and food crisis caused by COVID pandemic and Ukraine conflict urgently. In the United States, at least 25 people killed in a flash flood in Appalachia region of eastern Kentucky. In Pakistan, a special court summons Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and his son Hamza Shehbaz in connection with 16 billion rupees money laundering case on September 7th. And in Commonwealth Games, weightlifter Meerabai Chanu wins India's first gold medal and Sanket Sargar wins silver and Guru Raja Pujari bronze in weightlifting. President, Vice President and Prime Minister congratulate. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists from Vanuatu on their Independence Day. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.